During my parents' retirement party, the same people who stole the insurance money for my life-saving surgery and bought my sister a luxury SUV, my mother announced, "Our biggest financial mistake was wasting money raising this worthless son." My father added, "He's a 30-year-old failure who still asks for handouts." My sister scoffed, "At least beggars have dignity. He's just a pathetic living off family charity." I laughed heartily, stood up confidently, and said, "Family charity? You mean the pension fund I've been managing? It's gone." That night, I revealed how I'd used the full legal access they'd given me to systematically drain everything, wire it offshore, and leave them penniless. They thought they were retiring rich LOL. The banquet hall shimmered under golden chandeliers, each crystal scattering a kaleidoscope of light across polished marble floors. Waiters drifted between tables, balancing trays of champagne like dancers in perfect choreography. My father, the guest of honor, was glowing. His retirement celebration had drawn relatives, colleagues, neighbors, even a few city officials. The air buzzed with laughter, polite toasts, and clinking glasses. Everyone was there to celebrate a man who had built everything from nothing, at least according to the slideshow of his corporate milestones flashing on the giant screen. But beneath the glamour, tension coiled like a snake waiting to strike. My mother raised her glass. She wore a flawless smile, the kind she'd perfected at country club luncheons, but her eyes were sharp, predatory. She cleared her throat, and silence rippled through the crowd. "Our biggest financial mistake," she announced, her voice loud, deliberate, "was wasting money raising this worthless son." The words didn't just cut the air, they poisoned it. Gasps scattered around the room. A cousin's fork froze mid-air. My aunt nearly spilled her wine. My father didn't flinch. He leaned forward, nodding in grim agreement, his voice like iron. 30 years old, still living off us, a parasite who never stopped asking for handouts. Murmurs erupted. Some chuckled nervously, thinking it was a cruel joke. But then Celine, my sister, decided to twist the knife. Dripping in a designer gown, diamonds at her throat, she tilted her head back and smirked. "At least beggars have dignity. He's just pathetic." Silence followed, an expectant hush, as though the entire hall had turned to see how the family disgrace would react. And then I laughed. Not the nervous chuckle of someone caught off guard. No, this was deep, sharp, unexpected. It rolled across the hall, unsettling in its defiance. My laughter didn't match their cruelty. It mocked it, shattered it. Dozens of eyes locked on me. Whispers rustled like dry leaves. What could Caleb possibly find funny about being humiliated by his own family in front of hundreds of people? The answer was simple. I wasn't afraid anymore. "My name is Caleb Rowan. I'm 24 years old, though they like to pretend I'm 30, as if aging me faster somehow justifies their disappointment. For as long as I can remember, I've lived in shadows. The quiet son, the overlooked son, the son who carried their insults like bricks tied to my chest, sinking deeper with every year. I'd learned to absorb their blows, their words sharper than knives, their indifference heavier than fists. Every insult became part of my bloodstream. Every rejection taught me silence. But tonight, something inside me cracked open. Not broken. No. Freed. I wasn't trembling anymore. I wasn't shrinking under their spotlight. I was steady, cold, and for the first time, ready to fight back. Edmund Rowan, 64. My father. Retiring tonight as a celebrated corporate manager. To the world, he was respectable, hardworking, reliable. To me, he was a tyrant who measured his children like stock options. One worth investing in, the other a failed asset to be written off. Vivian Rowan, 61. My mother. She was brilliant with appearances, dinners, galas, PTA speeches, but her sharp tongue could slice flesh. She prided herself on sacrifices she never actually made. Celine Rowan, 29. My older sister. Spoiled since birth, shielded from responsibility, showered with gifts that were stolen opportunities from me. Her SUV, her condo, her Ivy League tuition, all carved from funds I was promised. On paper, we were the perfect American family. In reality, they were a well-dressed cage I had spent years trying to escape. My father slammed his glass down so hard champagne splashed onto the linen. His voice thundered, shaking the air. "You'll never amount to anything, Caleb. You should be grateful we even kept you afloat this long." Grateful. The word burned. Kept me afloat? My entire adolescence was spent drowning while they threw life jackets at Celine's every whim. I remembered nights going to bed hungry so she could have new heels for a school dance. I smiled, a small, dangerous smile. "Funny," I said softly, "because I thought I was the one keeping you afloat." Gasps, whispers. The crowd leaned closer. My mother's sneer sharpened. "Don't twist the truth. Without us, you'd be homeless." Celine leaned forward, her smirk venomous. "Actually, he should be homeless. Maybe then he'd stop embarrassing the family." The whispers grew into a wave. My uncle shook his head. My aunt pursed her lips. I could feel the room shifting, not in their favor, but in mine. Every insult piled on top of decades of silence. My chest tightened, but it wasn't fear. It was fury, boiling at the surface. They never mentioned the nights I worked 2 jobs just to cover bills they ignored. They never mentioned how I skipped college so Celine could go abroad. They never mentioned the insurance money that disappeared when I needed it most. They only remember their story, the one where I was the failure. For the first time, I decided to tell mine. 17. I can still feel it. The coughs that rattled my lungs, the crimson splatter in the sink, the doctor's grave words, "Urgent surgery, immediately." My parents signed the insurance papers. They promised me everything would be okay. For the first time, I believed them. But the money never reached the hospital. The surgery was delayed, my body breaking down as I waited. Then, weeks later, Celine rolled up to school in a brand new Range Rover. I asked about the money. My father called it an investment in her future. My mother told me to tough it out. I almost died. Alone, the scar never healed. Not on my body, not on my soul. Back in the hall, I rose from my chair, my smile wide, almost playful. Family charity? You mean the pension fund I've been managing for the last 5 years? The room went silent. Gasps burst like fireworks. My father's face drained of color. My mother's hand trembled, glass slipping, shattering against the marble. Celine's eyes widened, confusion quickly curdling into rage. "It's gone," I said simply. "Every dollar. Transferred, drained, finished." "Chaos exploded! You're lying!" My mother shrieked, "Caleb, tell me this is a joke!" My father bellowed, his voice cracking. "You thief!" Celine hissed, her carefully constructed facade crumbling. I didn't move. I didn't flinch. My voice was calm, colder than ever. "No lies. I used the legal access you gave me. Your trust. Your signatures. Every document you signed without reading, because you never imagined I was smart enough to matter." My father staggered, clutching his chest. My mother clung to him, sobbing, mascara streaking her cheeks. Celine cursed, but her voice shook, not with anger, but with fear. For the first time in my life, they weren't in control. The room dissolved into chaos. Relatives whispering, guests excusing themselves, old colleagues suddenly unsure if they should even be seen near my family. But inside me? Silence. Peace. For once, their empire wasn't untouchable. For once, they were the powerless ones. A cousin approached me quietly, voice trembling. "Caleb, was this revenge?" I shook my head. "No, this was survival." I turned to leave. Behind me, my father's voice cracked, desperate. "Son, wait, please." I paused, slowly turned, my eyes locked with his. "Now you remember I'm your son?" Silence answered. Not an apology, not remorse, just shame. And that was enough. I stepped into the cool night air. The laughter, the chaos, the music, it all faded behind me, muffled by distance. For the first time in years, I wasn't carrying their weight. Did guilt creep in? Yes, a flicker. They were still my parents, after all. But guilt no longer controlled me. It freed me. I thought of the 17-year-old version of myself, lying in bed, waiting for surgery that never came. I thought of the countless nights of ridicule, the endless comparisons, the quiet loneliness. That boy deserved justice. And tonight, he finally got it. Would I forgive them someday? Maybe. But forgiveness wasn't for them. It was for me. And I could feel it coming, slowly, like sunlight after a storm. The money wasn't mine to keep. It was never about wealth. It was about balance, about proving I wasn't powerless anymore. That's why I'd already arranged for most of it to be transferred. Charities, scholarships, kids who'd been abandoned the way I was. Because unlike them, I would never measure worth in Range Rovers or retirement banquets. I walked away lighter than I had ever felt. Not rich, not poor, but free. If you were in Caleb's shoes, betrayed, humiliated, forgotten, what would you have done? Would you walk away quietly, or would you fight back? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your words might help someone who feels trapped in the same silence. Like if you believe family isn't always about blood, it's about respect. Subscribe for more stories that cut deep, stories that remind us. Sometimes walking away is the strongest revenge of all.